of different tips and advice. And you're probably all wondering, you know, what am I doing? Why am I sweating to death coming into this room to see you guys this morning? I think one of the most important things that you started to talk about today about the importance of grab-and-go breakfast is that no matter what you guys do at this point after having been selected to come here to Ann Arbor to get this incredible leadership experience with Domino's and all these executives at Domino's like Patrick Doyle, who are some of the most famous leaders in the country, is you gotta practice what you preach, right? And so for someone like me who's advocating all the time to make sure that we're eating healthy and we're staying active, I'll tell you, it's not easy, right? Don't you guys feel that way? It's not a perfect science, right? I got in last night at about 8 o'clock. I spent most of the night watching the Republican debate, probably went to bed at about 1:30 in the morning, and getting up at 6 o'clock to go for a run wasn't exactly the top thing on my list, but I really do believe that it's really important to fuel your body and your mind. And you know, there's some great science that says if you're active, the neurons in your brain really fire off, and that is really important as you're creating your projects, as you're pitching your projects to your school board, to your superintendent, and of course to your classmates, right? Because they are the ones who are really going to adopt the behaviors that you guys want to see. I brought some newspapers, and I want to just show you some things that I've learned in my career, because I'm a kid who spent most of my career on Wall Street and then some time in the media business before working with you guys in schools across the country. Every day I pick up the newspaper, and I want you guys to understand why I pick up the newspaper. You guys pick up your devices. And it's not that I don't pick up my device as well, but especially if I have time and I'm traveling, I'm in an airport, a hotel, going into a meeting, I always pick up a newspaper. And here's the reason why. If you look right now at most of the stories covering this, in this case it's USA Today, okay? There is a direct correlation between every news story on this piece of paper and you. And you go, wait a second, how is that possible? Why does that matter to me? Well, let me give you an example. Something like what happens at the LA Unified School District yesterday. Everybody was talking about the risk, the terror threat, right? But let's also talk about the risk to the students who couldn't go into the school building yesterday. Obviously, human life, #1 concern. But the #2 thing that most people didn't talk about in closing LA Unified School District is it's the second largest school district in the country. And many of those kids who go to the LA Unified School District would not get fed but for the fact that they go into the school building, because it's extremely high free and reduced lunch population. So a day, one day of not going to school means that many of those kids who are food insecure don't get the fuel that they need to be successful in life, academically, for health, for a whole host of other reasons. So at first glance, you guys might see what happened in LA and say, wow, this is what a horrible risk, what a horrible tragedy, what a horrible world we're living in. Yes, those are all horrible circumstances. But the really horrible circumstance is that we live in the United States of America, and many of those kids in that school system would not have a proper meal if they didn't go to the school building. Thankfully, school lunch programs are what really is their necessary fuel to be successful. So I show you that because in each article, I'll give you another example. For the moms and dads in the room, for the adults in the room, today the Federal Reserve Bank is meeting. At 2 o'clock, they're going to make an interest rate announcement. For those of you who pay a little bit of attention to what's been happening in the stock market or what's been happening in the economy, you'll know that interest rates have been 0 for an extremely long time, one of the most unprecedented times in history. The Federal Reserve has not been able to raise interest rates because the economy has not recovered as quickly as we would have liked it to since the depths of the recession. And why should you care? Well, you should care ultimately at the end of the day, because when interest rates start to rise, that could mean 2 things. Maybe the economy is starting to get better. Maybe that means we're protecting against what could be the beginning of an upward trend in the economy and ensuring that when you put your money in the bank, you're actually going to get some return on investment, some equity for the dollars you put in the bank. How many times has your mom and dad said, I got money in my savings account and I'm getting nothing in return? Well, as rates start to rise and you put your money away, hopefully that interest rate rise will make sure that your money compounds and grows and grows and grows. The other effect, though, is that credit card rates will rise, mortgage rates will rise, a whole host of other things will rise. And so what does that mean? It means it'll change car loans, it'll change home values in your neighborhoods, it'll change a whole host of things. So I think it's really important that each day as you wake up, and I say this in the context of your projects, there are things that you're gonna see, and this, what I'm showing you, is about investigating. It's about knowing what's going on around you. And part of the success of the projects that you go and you deploy in your school buildings is doing your own degree of investigating. What is going on in the school building? What are the impediments to your success? How can you rally more folks within your school building? What's the difference between talking to a classmate and talking to a room full of adults? Why did I ask you when you first sat in the room to give me your pitch in 60 seconds? You know why? Because most adults are juggling 25 balls in the air, and if you can't get a pitch across, they often call it an elevator pitch. If you can't get it across in the ride from an elevator up, oftentimes that means your solution will not be adopted. Your business will not be sold. Some of the greatest visionary business leaders could sell their idea in an elevator. So as you walk into Domino's headquarters today, I want you to think about a couple of different things. Number one, no question is a stupid question, okay? Because I've asked them all, and I will ask a lot of stupid questions today. You think they're stupid questions, they're not. You are so much better positioned to be successful if you ask the things you don't know and own what you don't know. It's okay not to know everything, okay? So that's number one. Number two, observe. Observe, observe, observe. The greatest leaders are great listeners, okay? And when I say observe, sometimes when I step into the room, it's the thing that people are not saying that is the most important observation in the room, because body language tells you everything. So think about the body language of all the executives you meet. Think about the quality and the energy of the people when you step into the test kitchen. You'll see it's contagious. And when you're in an environment, a workplace, a school environment, a home environment, where things feel contagious, it's usually a good sign. Now, not contagious in terms of getting sick, but contagious in terms of having fun. And what you'll see when you step into that test kitchen at Domino's is everyone looks like they're having the time of their lives. Imagine going to work for a company in which every day you can invent and reinvent and think about the ingredients and where your food comes from and make pizzas that are sold to millions of people across the country. You know what? I would be smiling from ear to ear as well, and you can feel that enthusiasm when you step in the test kitchen. That is just observation. It's just listening. And I think the most important thing that you guys want to get out of having access to these really important executives is, how do they do it? It's really hard to start. You're all sitting here probably thinking, okay, I'm gonna have this incredible experience for 2-3 days, and then I gotta go home and I gotta sell this to everybody. I'll go on my Christmas break and I come back, and now I have to figure out how to do it. And the how, the why is extremely scary in the beginning. Let me tell you, Patrick Doyle, one day, a while back, Patrick Doyle, the CEO of Domino's, was you. I was you. Every single person you're gonna meet in that room has sat in your seat. So when you're around them, ask them how they started. Ask them what they think are the necessary steps that you should take when you walk back into your school building. Do you wanna go share it with community leaders? Do you wanna go in front of your school board? Do you set for yourself short-term goals and long-term goals? And how do you manage and look back at those goals and see and check off the milestones? One of the things that I often say to folks about Periscope or YouTube is it may be really cool for you guys every morning to wake up and say, even if you're talking into your device, this is what I want to do today, or this is my goal for this week, and record that each week and look at how you change each week. What you're gonna see throughout your project is moments of enormous growth and confidence, and then those days where you feel like, I can't do it. What do I do? It's real, it's raw, it's honest, and you know what? That's what every adult in this room feels at different stages. So record your journey as much as you're taking in what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be a business leader, what it means to advocate, sell your product, sell your strategy, how to communicate it, how to build awareness. All of those things are key to being a business leader, an entrepreneur, and a visionary. And you were selected because you have visionary ideas. So just to be here is the beginning of the Holy Grail. But don't walk away from this next 48 hours without taking this all in and remembering those moments. So whether you need to write notes, whether you need to take notes on your cell phones, whatever it is, this is your moment to ask everything, be unshackled, enjoy, be extremely respectful because they're giving you more time than I think most kids get in their lifetime inside a big headquarters. But kudos, congratulations. I'm so proud of you guys, and let's have some fun. How's that? Good? Any questions before we head over there? Anything you want to know about my crazy life, crazy career? I forgot to say I've got 4 kids like you guys, although one of them's 3, so she's a little bit smaller than you.
Oh, I was wondering, like, what do you do on your like day-to-day life? Like, what's your job?
What's my job? Yeah, you're like, who is this woman? Where did she come from? She told me she got in at 1:30, watched the debate, and no, okay. So basically, I'm a kid from the Lower East Side in New York City, Irish Catholic young girl, very young, by the way. In any event, I spent a little bit, just about 10 years on Wall Street, where I worked for some very big investment banks. I traded. Sometimes you see people on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange who trade and are loud and they're yelling and screaming and doing transactions. Well, that was me. And then after that, I spent about 10 years in television and media, where I worked at NBC. Do you guys know CNBC, which is where they talk about stocks, then NBC on the Today Show. And then I was at a place called Fox. Do you guys know Fox?
Yeah.
So I helped build a television network there, and I was on air there for a while, on TV, I should say. And then for the last 5 years, I've been working with people like you, which has been absolutely the greatest treasure ever. So what I do is I'm the CEO of something called Gen Youth, and we run a couple of different programs. Our flagship program is called Fuel Up to Play 60, which is a partnership between America's dairy farmers, about 50,000 of them, and the National Football League, all 32 teams. I'm going to ask you what your favorite team is in a moment. And what we do is we empower kids in schools to get access to the healthy foods and the physical activity they need, up to 60 minutes, as you guys know, so that you're empowered to be successful. So you get the fuel that you need to be healthy, high-achieving students and healthy, high-achieving, school building. Now, specifically, what do I really do every day? Well, let me tell you. So I'm a little bit crazy. So it's all good. So I have a 14-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, and then I have a 9-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old. So usually the morning starts with pure chaos. Everybody's getting out the building, and I'd say probably about 2 weeks out of the month, I'm traveling. So I may not be home as the kids are exiting the school building, but there's a lot of FaceTiming and texting with them before they're running out in the morning. And then I spend pretty much every day either in New York, where I'm based, or traveling across the country, meeting with students like you, meeting with partners who we work with, whether that's dairy farmers, whether that's NFL teams, and oftentimes I'm visiting with business leaders and industry leaders who want to support our work and who give us the grants or the resources that we need to be successful. And then I speak across the country. I tell people about how important it is that we empower students, how important it is that we make sure that you get the resources that you need. And then I do a couple hundred other things So I'm kind of a little bit crazy. It's